Hello everybody, I am the Shonen Saint and welcome back to another video for this channel, and today I wanted to do something that was a little bit different, which is a top 10 video, which I haven't really done in a long time, but I thought this would be a really fun top 10 to do because it's something that I think is very important moving forward in the Kingdom Hearts series, and something I actually always do look forward to are character versus character fights that I happen to want to see in the future Kingdom Hearts games. And today I want to go over the top 10 fights I want to see in a future Kingdom Hearts game, whether it be 4, 5, whatever Nomura comes up with in the future. I want to see these fights in particular in these games. So, with that all said, let's get to number 10. Now, the first fight I want to talk about is something that I feel like has a little bit of merit, and that is Luxord versus Lushu, or Xigbar, Bray, versus these two fighting each other. Now, why do you say, oh, why do you want these two to fight? Well, I feel like there's a bit of a reason for these two to fight. Now, if you remember that cutscene in Kingdom Hearts Remind, Lushu slash Xigbar didn't really know too much about Luxord, and it really confused him, and I feel like there was just a little bit of animosity there between Lushu towards Luxord and how they kind of just talked. It could be a battle of the Luxes, but also, I mean, we know Luxord has some sort of ties to Quadratum, and Lushu is, I'm pretty sure we've seen him in Quadratum, so I feel like these two at some point are going to fight each other. Now, this next one doesn't have to be a real fight, but it can be a sparring match between Kyrie versus Aqua. Now, as of right now, we know Kyrie is currently training or on her way to start training with Aqua as she wants to get better. It could be a master versus student fight, which who doesn't love those, to see where the student has come, to see how far along Kyrie has come as a Keyblade wielder since she's gotten it and has just been learning it over the years. So I think it would be a really fun fight to see Aqua fight Kyrie. Whether I think we should be able to play as this fight. It is one of the fights on the list that I think we should be able to play at. We should play as Kyrie as we fight Aqua, and it would just be a fight I really like to see in the future. Now, this is another Lushu fight, and this is Lushu versus the Master of Masters. Now, why do I think that this fight should happen? Well, I possibly think that Lushu might end up betraying the Master Masters at some point, or the Master Masters might betray Lushu at some point. And again, it's a master versus student fight, and I feel like Lushu has enough reasoning after the years of emotional abuse, I would say, the master had put him through, making him do all this stuff, possibly for the master's own selfish gain, making Lushu kill people that were possibly his friends, take over people's bodies, do this and that. Now, we do think maybe Xigbar might have had some fun doing this stuff, or at least it didn't bother him as much, or maybe it just after a while quit bothering him. But I definitely think this is a fight that should happen. Lushu versus the Master of Masters. Now, this next fight is something that I think can be fun in my opinion, and that is a Roxus versus Bonita boss fight. Now, Bonita is somebody I don't think is gone forever. I definitely think he's coming back in some sort of way, and I just think this would be this is more of a fan fiction-y wish fight for me. Because they both represent the darker parts of Sora's heart, in my opinion, and I think it would just be a fun fight. I don't really have much more of a reason than just having Roxus and Bonita's fight. These two characters actually haven't even met each other, and I don't know, I just think just having these two clash. We've seen Bonita's versus Ventus. We've already seen Bonita's versus Sora, so I think Bonita's versus Roxus is the next step to go, in my opinion. Now, this next one is the start of a long list of people who I think are going to throw hands with Ventus, and that is Marluxia versus Ventus, Lauriam versus Ventus. And why do I say this? Well, because of what happened with Strelitzia. I know in Union Cross, Lauriam got over it, but he's not really even Lauriam anymore, and he's really kind of gone crazy over these years. We're definitely going to see Marluxia in the next game, and so I think Marluxia has not completely forgiven Ventus for what has happened, or maybe he's remembering bits and pieces of what his past as he's going through, the game, and at one point he remembers that Ventus killed Strelitzia, but he doesn't remember, everything else that has evolved that, so he strikes Ventus, and I think that'd probably be a pretty good fight to watch, and maybe again, a playable one. Now, this next one is actually something I'm really surprised has not already just happened in the series, and that is Mickey versus Pete. You think about that. That's like That's a fight that just hasn't happened. That's like Goku, or not Goku, Vegeta versus Piccolo. That's a fight that's never happened, surprisingly. And it's just like, we should probably get this now. Like, I could be wrong. I could be, maybe they had a fight in Recoded that I'm just not remembering. They never fought in 2. They didn't interact in Birth by Sleep. They didn't fight in 3. These two have never thrown hands with each other, yet they're the biggest haters of each other. They're the biggest rival. They're an OG rival. They go back to, they've been rivals since the 20s. They've been rivals since the 20s. How has this been a fight that hasn't happened yet? It's Mickey Mouse versus Captain Pegleg Pete. It's Pete. We need to get this fight. We need to get this fight. Now this fight, most people will be wondering why this fight's so low on the list, but that's just simply because it's a fight that we know we're going to get. It's just a matter of time, not if. And that is Sora versus the Master of Masters. This is just going to be a fight we get. Main hero versus the main villain of this saga. These two are going to throw hands with each other. It's just bound to happen. We know it's going to happen, so yeah, this is just a fight I want to see. Sora versus the Master of Masters. This next one is just, again, just kind of a fanfiction what if fight that doesn't have to be a true fight. It could be a sparring match, and that is Ventus versus Roxus. Like I said, it could just be a sparring match. Why should this fight happen? Because they both look like each other. Is that all? Is there anything else I need to say? They both look like each other. That's why this fight should happen. Should it be a playable match? I think I would like to play as Roxus beating up Ventus, give him the hands. But yeah, no, I think that's just it. Just these two should be training with each other, and that's about it. Now this next one is actually another they look the same match, but there's more of a story here, and that is Yora versus Riku. Now, Yora was watching Riku in Riku's dream. Let's all acknowledge that. Yora threw the hands of Sora pretty well, if you ask me. I mean, he really did a number on us. There's no other reason. Riku's heading the Quadratum. That is possibly Yora's home. We don't know that for sure. But, yeah. Riku versus Yora should happen. I think it is going to happen. And, yeah, we'll see how that plays out in the future. And now, number 1. This is a fight that I've been wanting to see since these characters were introduced, and that is the Lost Masters, Yora, Ava, Gula, Envy, and the Sed versus Riku, Kyrie, Ventus, Aqua, and Terra. Again, another case of very similarities. I know the biggest long theory for the longest time was the rebirth theory. That's possibly not a thing anymore. And the Lost Masters are going to be the possible new villain/threats in this next saga going forward. As of right now, I know everyone's like, oh, Sora versus the Lost Masters. Yes, that's a fight I would also like to see, but I think this one would be a lot more. Again, if you look at each of them, they kind of all look like each other. Yora is the Riku, Ava is the Kyrie, Gula is sort of the Ventus. You can kind of say he's kind of like Sora, though, but I think he fits that Ventus rule a little bit more. Envy is the Aqua, and of course, the biggest one is the Sed to Terra. I just think this is a fight that is bound to happen as well. And yeah, I want to see this. Riku, Kyrie, Ventus, Aqua, and Terra versus Yora, Ava, Gula, Envy, and the Sed. Wow, I've said those names a lot. But yeah, that's the number 1 fight I want to see in the next Kingdom Hearts games. With all that said, guys, that's it for the video. What fights do you want to see in the future Kingdom Hearts games? Again, I named all of them, but I'm sure there's some others you can come up with, like Sora versus Genie, or Yora versus Jack Sparrow. Anyways, guys, comment, like, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.